So as many of you know, there is a building that collapsed in Florida, and unfortunately a lot of lives were lost. And the reason why this happened is pretty straightforward. Professor Richard Wolff gave a great explanation on his channel, Democracy at Work. We do not have enough regulations to make sure that we have proper infrastructure that doesn't collapse. And so left and right, you see bridges collapsing, buildings collapsing now. I mean, this is embarrassing. Now, with that said, there's another building that is built exactly the same way as the building that collapsed. That building is now being torn down, luckily. That's the good news. The mayor has decided officially that that building should be torn down. That's really good news because obviously there are people who live there and they're unsafe considering their neighboring sister structure was destroyed that was built exactly the same way, right?
The building was unsafe. I know that the garage was kind of flooded. I know that there were cracks on the walls.
Confounding officials why the building suddenly fell. Learning that a definitive cause could take months.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. The guy said it too. There are cracks everywhere. There are cracks everywhere. The dude literally said it. This is going to take months to figure out. No, there are no regulations against problematic things. It's pretty simple, actually.
But in 2018, a consultant's engineering review of Champlain South found major structural damage.
Maybe that has something to do with it. Does this kind of information confound things and make it months to solve? Because you have the solution. It's make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen with regulations. That's the solution.
Inside the parking garage, pictures showed abundant cracking observed in the concrete columns, beams, and walls.
Jeez, I wonder what it was. I feel like maybe it's going to take months to figure out what happened exactly. I think it's pretty obvious. And I mean, I feel like it's obvious too.
Resident Jeanette Aguero noticed.
It was always wet, even when it was dry out, and you kind of wondered, where did that water come from?
That review also found a design flaw, a major error, and more structural damage below the pool deck and entrance drive. Waterproofing had failed. If not replaced, it would cause the extent of the concrete deterioration to expand exponentially. Nearly 3 years later, extensive repairs were set to begin when the building pancaked.
After we address the support for the families, we are going to do a very deep dive into why this building fell down.
Champlain South has a sister property, Champlain North, built at the same time by the same developer. For now, evacuations there are voluntary.
Whoa! That's nuts! Those people are in that building and they need to leave. Their sister building it just collapsed. The sister building just collapsed. I mean, it's incredibly naive to say that evacuations should be voluntary. Now, this is probably the most important part of this entire story. That there is an entire other building that could collapse at any moment, and there are over 100 residents there. Okay, we need to get those residents out, and if Florida is not going to be the ones to evacuate them, then you're Face the Nation. You have 200,000 subscribers. You go out and you say, "Oh my gosh, this is such a big deal. We need to do something," right? But instead, this comment was just thrown here and then completely ignored. So I'll go back to the part just before, and then there's this really important segment within the segment, and then there's nothing else about it.
We are going to do a very deep dive into why this building fell down.
Champlain South has a sister property, Champlain North, built at the same time by the same developer. For now, evacuations there are voluntary. Miami-Dade County's mayor has ordered a safety audit of all buildings in the county that are at least 40 years old or 5 stories tall, and anything else built by Champlain South's developer. No one wants a repeat disaster here.
So we have over 100 people who are at risk of dying, and we don't even talk about that. We talk, I don't know, it just, to me, this seems very weird to just leisurely mention within a segment. Like, it had nothing to do, it was just a really weird placement within the segment. It should feel like that's the main story, that, hey, we just had a collapse, we need to get these people out of here, like, now. No, man, evacuation is voluntary. And then we go on to explain why people are safe, why measures are being taken, and so forth. But evacuations are voluntary. Do you understand why nothing is fundamentally changing here?